CPT1, you're going to get some effect, but the final denominator is this ETC. The correction of ETC is the final common pathway for production of ATP, and I've already shown you in the previous slide, if there's ATP, then there is calcium coming in, and then there is insulin release. So that is the most important thing. So mitochondrial capacity to switch freely between oxidative fuels depending on nutritional context is lost in obesity and type 2 diabetes, and that's why the disease may be progressing. So now I come to the actual topic, and that is imeglimin, a novel first-in-class mitochondrial modulator. This background was necessary for you to understand what actually goes wrong in the mitochondria and what this drug is aiming to do. So the mechanism of action of this drug is that it differs from other classes, of course. It improves the mitochondrial bioenergetics. So you can see here at the bottom that it increases fat oxidation and decreases glucose production, and does all of that. Glucose uptake is increased, insulin secretion is increased, and this is how imeglimin actually acts. It targets multiple organ systems affected by type 2 diabetes pathology. It's not just the liver, it's not just the muscle, but everything in toto, and the defect is corrected like what I explained to you in the previous slides. So it addresses both insulin sensitivity and also enhances insulin action. So improves beta cell function and enhances insulin action. This is what it does. And what you see on the left side here in the mitochondria, all of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that you see are all steps in that complicated mitochondria structure that I showed you in the previous slide. So all these steps is where the mechanism of imeglimin is, where the mitochondria is acting. But please remember, ultimate aim is ATP generation. So if ATP generation is more, you get more insulin secretion, because that is when the cell membrane is going to get depolarized. That is when the potassium channels close and the calcium channels open. They are coming in, and there is exocytosis of the insulin granules. So that is the most important thing. So what does it do in clinical terms? Better insulin release in both phases of insulin secretion, improved beta cell glucose sensitivity, and chronic treatment with this has been shown to increase beta cell mass, beta cell proliferation, and suppress beta cell apoptosis and death. So this is another slide that tells you that the entire mitochondrial respiratory chain becomes activated and gives you all of this. I'm not going to go into the details because I've already explained to you in the previous slides. Now these are the major published phase 3 trials, times 1, times 2, and times 3. All of them are RCTs. All of them have used 1000 milligrams twice daily of the drug. Duration has ranged from 24 weeks to 1 year. And these are admittedly the number of subjects are less, but they are well designed trials, and the HbA1c, what has been the population has been shown to you. So let us go to the first one. I'll quickly run through this, and that is the times 1, where they have just compared it to a placebo. So it's a double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled, multi-center phase 3 trial. They've taken patients who are only on diet and exercise. HbA1c 7 to 10, 1000 milligrams twice daily was given, and they looked at the efficacy and safety both. So you can see here, when imeglimin 1000 milligrams twice daily has been given, they, as compared to placebo, there was a reduction by 0.72% as compared to the placebo. So the conclusion is that this was done in Japanese subjects only. So it significantly improved A1C in Japanese patients with type 2 diabetes compared with placebo, and similar safety profile to placebo. So they concluded that it's a potential new treatment. Then came the times 2. This was open label, again multi-center, and patient received imeglimin monotherapy or imeglimin with several other drugs. They were all compared separately. And it was 1 year. The primary endpoint here was safety, not just efficacy. And secondary endpoint was the efficacy. So the percentage of patients experiencing at least one treatment emergent adverse event was 75.5, and I'll tell you why. So most of these were mild or moderate, and no clinically significant changes in any of the important vital parameters. And this is the comparison, as you can see. So you have monotherapy, then a combination with AGI, biguanides, glinides, SGLT2, etc., etc. And you can see here that there is a good reduction in HbA1c in combination, a little less with monotherapy than what was seen in the Times-1 study. So at week 52, A1C decreased by 0.46 with imiglivin monotherapy and between 0.56 to 0.92 with imiglivin as oral combination therapy. So the conclusion was that monotherapy or combination with oral anti-diabetic drugs in Japanese individuals was well tolerated, clinically meaningful and sustained improvements in glycemic control. Now this was the Times-3 study, which studied the efficacy and safety of the drug as add-on to insulin monotherapy in Japanese patients once again. So this was what it was 52 weeks. So what they did was they had a 16-week period in between where the comparison was done, and then there was an extension phase where everyone got imiglivin. And the primary endpoint was percentage of responders. And you can see here the results. At week 16, A1C had significantly decreased by 0.63% with imiglivin